A dangerous new substance called hyper has hit the streets of South Korea. It's said to cause severe disorientation and in extreme cases, sudden death. But despite the risks, it's spreading like wildfire. Meanwhile, Suk-do, having recently cracked down on the Harbin crime lord Jen Chen and the Vietnamese gang boss Kang Hae-sang, was finally enjoying a bit of peace and quiet, but trouble never stays quiet for long. At a Korean port, members of the Japanese Yakuza Sung-cheol clan secretly partnered with Korean narcotics officer Sung-cheol. Together, they hijacked a 20-pound batch of this new hyperstimulant worth over 30 billion won and eliminated a fellow officer who caught wind of their scheme. To keep things under wraps, Sung-cheol brutally silenced him and warned his Japanese partner Tomo to stay sharp. Back in the city, Suk-do was en route to a reported jumper case when he ran into a group of thugs brawling in public and roughing up a security guard. Without hesitation, he stepped in. One punk mouthed off Suk-do shut him up with a flurry of punches. Two more tried to avenge their friend, only to be put straight to sleep. When another pulled a knife, Suk-do dropped him instantly, drawing applause from the crowd. After cleaning up that mess, Suk-do finally reached the scene. According to reports, a young woman had supposedly jumped to her death, but forensic tests revealed something suspicious. Her system was loaded with illicit substances. It looked less like a suicide and more like an overdose, or worse, murder. Digging deeper, police tracked down the victim's friend, who revealed that the two had taken something given to them at a club by a Japanese-Korean man. Suk-do realized this wasn't just a tragic accident, it was part of something much bigger. He decided to investigate it himself. At the club, Suk-do made his way through the crowd and tried heading upstairs. A bouncer thought he could stop him with brute force and even slapped him. Bad move. Suk-do knocked him out cold. Upstairs, he found two men making a shady exchange. He quietly followed them into a private room, where partiers were deep in the high. They mistook Suk-do for a waiter until he whipped out his phone and started recording. One man got aggressive, grabbing a bottle to attack, but Suk-do flattened him. The bouncer he just knocked out came charging back and only to get dropped again. When a henchman tried to play hero, Suk-do laid him out too. Then he spotted the club owner dancing to Gangnam Style and hauled him back to the station for questioning. Elsewhere, Sung-cheol and Tomo met a potential distributor in a private suite. Despite knowing the product's dark history, the woman didn't flinch. It was cheaper than the Japanese version, more profit for her. She agreed to work with them. Back at the station, Suk-do grilled the club owner, who still didn't know who he was dealing with and had the nerve to yell. Suk-do's team used their usual persuasion methods to make him talk. Moments later, the owner gave in, revealing that a Japanese-Korean man named Hiroshi from Incheon was supplying him and that a local bar owner was involved too. Suk-do sent his crew to find Hiroshi while he personally checked out the bar. At the bar, a sleazy guy made a move on him. Another knockout. Behind the counter, Suk-do uncovered a stash bingo. Interrogating the bar owner confirmed Hiroshi was her supplier. And yes, he was tied to the Japanese underworld. Meanwhile, Suk-do's crew tracked down Hiroshi's hideout, but Hiroshi and his crew were riding high literally and fought back with wild energy. The cops struggled to take them down, only winning with tasers. Inside, they found the massive stash, 20 kilograms of illegal product. But as they prepared to return to HQ, a black SUV rammed into them out of nowhere. The entire team was knocked unconscious. A group of masked men seized the drugs, took out Hiroshi, and destroyed all the evidence at a repair shop, including their gloves and clothes. When the leader removed his mask, it was Sung-cheol. His crew headed straight to the drop-off point, slapping down anyone in their way. They questioned Tomo, how did the cops find the drugs? Luckily, they had Hiroshi under surveillance, or this whole operation would have collapsed. Before leaving, they ordered the product repackaged for distribution. Back at the hospital, Suk-do's men regained consciousness, but they couldn't ID the attackers. However, they did find a police-issued firearm in Hiroshi's apartment. A narcotics officer recognized it immediately. It belonged to their missing team leader. That led Suk-do to the narcotics division for answers. He waited, and finally, their commanding officer walked in. It was Sung-cheol. After a quick but friendly exchange of greetings, Suk-do asked Sung-cheol if he had any intel on the Japanese gang that recently popped up, but Sung-cheol said it was classified. Suk-do didn't expect him to shut him down so bluntly. Just as he was about to leave, Suk-do turned back and asked if Sung-cheol had any updates on the missing task force leader. Yung Jae-un-sik. The moment the name was mentioned, Sung-cheol's face froze. One of his men jumped in to smooth things over, but his body language said otherwise he was lying. Sung-cheol then snapped back, telling Suk-do to mind his own business and stay out of cases that didn't concern him. That reaction told Suk-do all he needed to know something was definitely off, but without solid evidence, he had no choice but to leave. He and his team decided to follow a different lead. At a used car lot, a BMW rolled out, honking nonstop at Suk-do. When Suk-do didn't move, a guy named Cherry jumped out, ready to throw hands.
야, 너 그러다 혼난다.
하지마! 선수가 일반인 때리면...
Suk-do casually sent him to sleep with one clean punch. His girlfriend screamed in panic, but Suk-do calmly reassured her, "Don't worry, I'll wake him up later." Inside the building, the team was stunned to find out this goofy guy was actually an informant for the Baisha gang who also happened to run a nightclub and sell used cars. They grilled him about any Japanese gang members showing up at his club. Cherry pulled out his phone and showed them a photo. The guy's name? Tomo, a Japanese Korean who showed up weekly to party hard. That was enough for Suk-do. He brought Cherry along to find Tomo. Cut to the Ichijo clan boss making his entrance. Everyone along the corridor bowed as he passed. Pulling out his phone, he sneered, "Tomo's been messing around in Korea, trying to sell my product behind my back. He told his enforcer Ricky to handle it." Meanwhile, at a Korean port, Ricky had already landed and was driving straight to the local gang's base to track Tomo down. At the same time, Sung-cheol was supposed to make the big exchange, but Tomo hadn't shown up with the product. Over the phone, Tomo explained that one of his men got cold feet and leaked everything to Japan. Now that Ricky was in Korea, he had no choice but to run with the stash. Sung-cheol, clearly caught off guard, nervously asked for 2 more days to deliver the goods. Back at Tomo's hideout, his crew was frantically packing, trying to get out before Ricky arrived, but screams rang out before they even finished. Ricky had arrived, wielding a katana with terrifying precision. He cut through Tomo's men like a blade through paper fast. Brutal, unstoppable.
Tomo đã ôm hàng chuyển êm, buộc nhóm Ricky phải đừng sụp người khác.
But Tomo had already slipped away with the product, forcing Ricky's crew to hunt him down elsewhere. Tomo fled to a hotel, trying to cash in and vanish, but Ricky and his men were faster. As soon as Tomo stepped outside, they were already waiting for him. Meanwhile, Suk-do stormed into Cherry's nightclub and found one of Tomo's men, Yeon-ho.
Nhưng cú đấm du ngủ thương hiệu của Seok đã hạ gục chúng trong tích tắc.
아, 이 새끼들 말을 못 알아듣지.
The underlings tried to defend him, but Suk-do's signature naptime punches dropped them in seconds. Only Yeon-ho was left, and Suk-do didn't hold back 2 clean hits, and the guy nearly coughed up his intestines. After getting a lead from Yeon-ho, Suk-do headed straight to Tomo's hotel just in time to run into Ricky, who had already finished his job. As the 2 cars passed, Suk-do immediately sensed something off. Without hesitation, he reversed and blocked Ricky's path. A fight broke out instantly. Suk-do took down the crew with ease, but Ricky wasn't playing fair. He jumped back in the car and rammed straight into Suk-do. To protect his teammate, Suk-do took the full hit and was left groaning on the pavement, helplessly watching Ricky drive away. Ricky dragged Tomo to a port and demanded to know where the stash was. Tomo, still thinking he had leverage, acted cocky, figuring Ricky wouldn't dare kill the guy holding the goods. Big mistake. He ended Tomo right there.
Sung-cheol và đám lính tìm thấy xác Tomo trên bờ biển.
The next morning, Sung-cheol and his men found Tomo's body on the shore. Furious, they tracked down the snitch who leaked info to the Japanese gang and interrogated him, but he didn't know where the drugs were, either only that Ricky had taken out Tomo. So Sung-cheol let him go, using him as bait to trace Ricky's location. Back on Suk-doo's side, after losing Ricky, he returned to question Yeon-ho. The room was too dark, so he asked for the lights.
아니 야 이거 꺼. 정신 불렀는데? 어디 갔어?
Một khoảng lặng đầy ngượng ngùng.
Cue the
Khi đèn
awkward
bật sáng,
silence.
Seok
Once
cho
the
lấy lại
lights were
phong thái
on,
và bật chế độ thẩm vấn
Suk-doo,
gắt gao.
regaining his dignity, went full interrogation
Anh hỏi ai
mode.
đã tấn
He
công đội
asked
cảnh
who had
sát.
attacked the police
Giang
team.
Ho sợ chết
Yeon-ho,
khiếp, khai ra ngay lập tức.
terrified, cracked
Hắn bảo
almost
không phải
instantly.
băng đảng
He
Nhật
said
mà
it
là
wasn't
một
the
bên thứ ba.
Japanese gang, it was a
Hắn
third
không biết
party.
là ai,
He
nhưng
didn't
bọn
know
họ đã
who,
hợp tác
but
với
they were
Tomo
working
để
with
trộm hàng
Tomo
từ
to
gia
steal
tộc
the
Ichizoi
product from the
và Suki
Ichijo
được phái
clan,
đến
and
để
Ricky
dọn
had
dẹp.
been sent to clean it
Trong khi
up.
đó, đám lính
Meanwhile,
của Sung-cheol đang lục
Sung-cheol's
tung
men
nhà
were
Tomo
already
để tìm
tearing
ma
apart
túy thì đụng
Tomo's
độ băng
house
của
looking for the
Suki.
drugs, only to run into Ricky's crew. Ricky didn't hesitate, he took him
Hôm sau,
out.
khi thấy cảnh tượng của thuộc hạ,
The next
Sung-cheol gọi
day,
thẳng cho
when
ông trùm
Sung-cheol saw what
Ichizoi, đòi
happened to
câu
his
trả lời
men,
và dọa
he
sẽ trả
called the
đũa.
Ichijo boss directly, demanding answers and threatening retaliation.
Yakuza
But the
chẳng thể nào
Yakuza
đúng
boss
lạnh lùng
didn't
cảnh báo
flinch. He
rằng ngày tàn
coldly
của
warned that
Sung-cheol sắp đến rồi.
Sung-cheol's days were
Khi hạn
numbered.
chót giao
As the
dịch đến
deal
gần,
deadline
Sung-cheol
loomed,
cùng tay sai đắc lực
Sung-cheol and
vội
his
vã đến gặp
right-hand
môi giới
man
Hàn Nhật
raced to
để
the
câu
Korean
thêm giờ.
Japanese broker to buy more
Seok
time.
do sớm
But
có
when
mặt
they
tại
showed
hiện
up
trường và nhận ra cái
empty-handed,
xác
the
là một
bald
trong
guy
những tên
lost
lính
it,
của
slapped
Sung-cheol.
Sung-cheol across the face. Already on edge, Sung-cheol snapped. He grabbed a wrench and took him out on the spot. He spared the woman, though she was the buyer. Shaken but trying to keep it together, the woman agreed to give him more time. Suk-doo soon arrived at the scene and identified the dead body, one of Sung-cheol's
Đến lúc
men.
này thì mọi
At
chuyện
that
đã
point,
rõ. Bên
it
thứ ba
became clear
chính là
the third
Sung-cheol.
party was Sung-cheol
Ngay lúc đó,
himself.
Sung-cheol
Right
đang
then,
ở văn phòng tiêu hủy
Sung-cheol
bằng
was in his
chứng.
office destroying
Seok do
evidence.
đến nơi, yêu
Suk-doo
cầu nói chuyện với
arrived,
hắn.
asking to speak
Một
with
viên
him.
cảnh sát
One
giả
of the
vờ như không có
officers,
gì, bảo
pretending
rằng sếp
everything
không
was
có ở
normal,
đây.
said the chief wasn't
Nhưng
in,
Seok do
but
không tin.
Suk-doo wasn't buying
Anh hỏi
it.
thẳng,
He
hôm
asked
qua một tên
directly,
lính của các
one of
anh
your
chết ở
men
căn hộ
died
của
yesterday in
Tomo.
Tomo's
Các anh đang
apartment.
tìm chỗ
Were
giấu
you
hàng
looking
à?
for the
Tình hình căng
stash?
thẳng nhanh chóng,
Things got
nhưng không
heated
thấy bóng dáng
fast, but with
Sung-cheol.
no sign of
Seok do tạm thời
Sung-cheol,
rút lui.
Suk-doo backed off for
Anh mang
now.
theo Giang
He
Ho
took
và tiếp tục
Yeon-ho
tìm
and
kiếm.
kept
Trên xe,
searching.
Giang
In the
Ho chợt
car,
nhớ ra Tomo
Yeon-ho
từng kinh
suddenly
doanh du
remembered
thuyền.
Tomo had been running a yacht
Có lẽ ma
business.
túy được
Maybe
giấu
the
ở đó.
drugs were
Sau
hidden
một hồi
there.
tìm kiếm,
After a
cuối
series
cùng
of
họ cũng tìm
stops,
thấy kho
they
hàng dưới
finally
nước tròn
located
20
the
kg.
stash underwater, 20 full
Họ
kilos.
mang nó đến
They
chỗ
brought it to
Cheji và
Cherry
bắt
and
hắn
had
nhắn
him
tin
bait
nhủ Sung-cheol.
Sung-cheol with a
Ban đầu,
message. At
Sung-cheol giả
first,
vờ không hiểu Cheji
Sung-cheol
đang nói
pretended
gì.
not to know what Cherry was
Nhưng
talking
sau khi
about,
Cheji
but
gửi
after
ảnh
Cherry
selfie
sent a
làm bằng
selfie
chứng,
as proof,
Sung-cheol cắn câu và
Sung-cheol
chốt
took the
kèo bảo
bait and set
Cheji
up a
mang
deal
hàng đến.
telling Cherry to bring the
Nhưng
goods.
sau lưng,
But behind the
Sung-cheol đã
scenes,
phím cho Ricky và
Sung-cheol
đồng bọn
tipped off
giang
Ricky
sẵn
and
một
his
cái
crew,
bẫy.
setting a
Khi
trap.
Cheji đến
When
nơi,
Cherry
hắn nhận ra
arrived,
có gì
he
đó sai
realized
sai
something was
Sung-cheol
wrong.
không có ở đó.
Sung-cheol wasn't
Hắn
there.
hoảng loạn
He
gọi cho
panicked and
Seok
called
do. Nhưng
Suk-doo.
trước khi
But
Seok
before
do kịp can
Suk-doo
thiệp,
could
một tên
intervene,
côn đồ
a
đã
thug
đánh lén anh bằng
blindsided him
gậy
with a
thay cho
club.
Sinye.
When that
Chúng phang
didn't
mạnh
work,
hơn đánh anh
they
ngất
hit him
liệt.
even harder, knocking him out
Trong khi đó,
cold.
Sung-cheol thừa
Meanwhile,
biết Seok do sẽ không mang hàng thật
knowing
lên tầng
Suk-doo
thượng nên
wouldn't
đã
bring
đợi
the
sẵn
real
dưới lầu
stash
và
to the
hắn đã
top
đúng.
floor, waited downstairs and it worked.
Lính của hắn
His
chặn
men
cướp số ma
intercepted
túy
the
thật
real
rồi chuồn
drugs
êm
and
trong khi
walked
đội của
off while
Seok do
Suk-doo's
vẫn đang
team
choáng
was still
váng. Đến
recovering.
khi viện
By the
binh tới
time
thì đã quá
backup
muộn.
arrived, it was too
Vài cảnh
late.
sát cố đuổi
Some
theo nhưng bị
officers
người của
tried to
Ricky chặn
pursue,
đường.
but Ricky's men blocked their
Hai bên
way.
lao vào
The
ẩu
two
đả nhưng
sides
đội của
clashed,
Seok
but
do hoàn
Suk-doo's
toàn
team
lép
was
vế.
completely outmatched.
Sau một màn đánh nhanh rút gọn, băng của Ricky biến mất cùng chiến lợi phẩm.
After a quick beatdown, Ricky's crew disappeared with the
Seok do
prize.
tỉnh lại,
Suk-doo
chỉ vì
comes
thấy mình
to,
đang bị
only
đánh
to
tơi tả.
find himself getting the crap kicked out of him.
Ricky ghé sát
Ricky's
vào,
leaning
tra
in,
khảo xem ma
demanding
túy
to
đang
know
ở
where
đâu
the
thì đột
drugs
nhiên
are when
điện thoại reo.
suddenly the phone
Là
rings.
Sung-cheol.
It's
Tỉnh bơ như
Sung-cheol.
không,
Cool
hắn
as
báo cho
ever,
Ricky
he
biết
tells
mình đã có
Ricky
ma
he's
túy
got the
và để mặc
drugs,
Ricky
and
tự
it's
dọn
up to
dẹp đống
Ricky
lộn
to
xộn
clean
này.
up the mess
Ricky
himself.
điên tiết, đập nát
Ricky
điện
was so
thoại xuống đất.
furious. He smashed his phone on the
Ngay khi chúng
ground.
vừa
The
quay lưng,
moment their
tiếng nắm
backs
đấm
were
va chạm
turned,
vang
the
lên
sound
phía
of
sau
fists
Seok do
landing
đã bắt
echoed
đầu
behind
phản
them.
công.
Suk-doo was already
Mấy
fighting
tên lâu la
back.
tép
The
dịu chẳng có
low-level
cửa
goons
nào.
stood no
Ricky tung
chance.
ra tên mạnh nhất
Ricky
của
sent in
mình.
his strongest
Gã đó trụ
man.
được vài hiệp là đau ván.
아이씨.
That guy barely lasted a few rounds before
Thế là
getting
Suki đích
dropped,
thân ra
so
trận.
Ricky stepped in
Nhưng so với
himself.
cỡ Giang
But
Chen hay
compared to the
Cam
likes
Hee
of
Sang,
Jang
thì
Chen
sức
or
chiến
Kang
đấu của
Hae
đám này
Sang,
chỉ là
this
trò đùa.
crew's combat power was a
Seok do
joke.
giải quyết hắn
Suk-du
nhanh gọn
made
kết
quick
thúc bằng
work of
cú
him
đấm trời
finishing
giáng có
things
thể
off
đập
with a
vỡ cả
meteor
bức tường.
punch that could have shattered a
Ricky
wall.
đã gục,
With Ricky
Seok do
down,
không lãng phí một
Suk-du
giây nào.
didn't waste a
Dù kiệt
second.
sức nhưng đầy quyết
Exhausted
tâm,
but
anh vừa lấy
determined,
đồ nghề
he
và lao
grabbed
tới
his
xào
gear
huyệt
and
của
rushed
Sung-cheol
towards
lần theo tín
Sung-cheol's
hiệu điện
hideout,
thoại giấu
tracking
trong
him
túi
through
ma
the phone
túy.
hidden inside the
Trong
drug
khi
bag.
đó, Sung-cheol đang
Sung-cheol,
gói ghém hộ chiếu,
meanwhile,
chuẩn bị
was
chuồn
packing
ra
his
sân bay.
passport and ready to make a break for the
Nhưng ngay
airport.
trước khi hắn
But
kịp
right
lên đường,
before he could hit the
xe của
road,
Seok do
a
lao tới
full-speed
chặn đầu,
American-style
tông hắn một
takedown
cú
by
đúng chất
Suk-du's
nghĩ.
car blocked his
Nhận ra
path.
ai đang cầm lái, Sung-cheol hoảng hốt chạy ngược vào văn phòng.
Realizing who was behind the wheel, Sung-cheol panicked and bolted back into his
Một tên lính
office.
định cản
One of his
Seok do
men
nước đi
tried to
sai lầm.
block Suk-du
Một
bad
đấm là
move.
nằm thẳng
One
cẳng.
punch and he was out
Seok do
cold.
nương theo tiếng chuông
Suk-du
điện
used the
thoại giấu
hidden
kín
phone's
để dò vị
ringtone
trí
to
của
trace
Sung-cheol,
Sung-cheol's
đạp tung
location,
từng cánh cửa cho
kicking
đến
down
khi cả
doors
hai
until
mặt
the
đối
two
mặt.
finally faced
Hóa ra,
off.
Sung-cheol dạo này lười tự nhiên quá.
Turns out, Sung-cheol hadn't exactly been hitting the
Vài
gym.
cú đấm
A
thấu
few
xương và
solid
rát gãy
punches
xương
and cracked
sườn.
broken
Lời
ribs.
nhắc thân thiện,
Friendly
đừng có
reminder,
bỏ tập cơ
don't
bụng
skip
nhé
core
bà con.
training.
Cùng
Folks,
đường,
desperate.
Sung-cheol lôi còng tay ra định
Sung-cheol
giở
pulled out
trò.
a pair of handcuffs and
Vẫn
tried
không ăn
again.
thua, khiến cho hắn vừa lấy khẩu súng.
Still didn't work. Then he grabbed a
Seok do
gun.
đã liệu trước
Suk-du
anh
saw
tóm
it
lấy
coming,
cổ tay
grabbed
hắn
his
và bình
wrist
thản
and
để
calmly
hắn
let
xả
him
hết
empty
đạn
the
lên
whole
trời.
clip into the
Cuối cùng
air.
thì chạy
But
trời
in
không
the
khỏi
end,
nắng,
there
Sung-cheol
was no
chưa bao giờ
escaping
là
it.
đối thủ của
Sung-cheol
Seok
was
do.
never a match for Suk-du.
Và
And
Seok do chẳng cần
Suk-du
nói lời
didn't
nào.
need to say a
Anh quay
word.
lưng bước
He
đi để
turned
lại
around
phía
and
sau
walked
bóng lưng
away,
huyền thoại.
leaving behind nothing but a legendary silhouette.